The transport ship touched down on the pale grasslands of Nine with a soft hiss, sending a wave of golden dust rolling across the quiet valley. The wind carried a sweet scent, almost like honey, and the sun glowed violet behind thin clouds. For years, the colony of Nine had lived in peace, guided entirely by their women, graceful, tall beings with shimmering skin and bright silver eyes. They had never seen a male in their lifetime. Not one. Their species lost all males in a plague centuries ago, and now the word male existed only in old stories told with half-belief. So when the ship door opened, and a lone armored human soldier stepped out, the world around them paused. His name was Hale, and he walked carefully, unsure if this strange mission of diplomacy would meet fear or distrust. His boots sank slightly into the soft ground. He breathed in slowly, heart steady but alert. His helmet visor reflected the curious faces gathering at a distance, faces filled not with fear but confusion and wonder. The first alien girl to approach was Lyra, a young healer whose long blue hair glowed faintly in the sunlight. She blinked rapidly, studying the broad-shouldered figure before her. Behind her, more girls emerged, scientists, guards, farmers, all staring at as if he were some living myth. "Is it true?" one whispered. "Is this what a male looks like?" another murmured. "He's different." Lifted his hands gently, showing he carried no weapon. "I come in peace," he said in simple, steady words. "I'm here to help." The alien girls exchanged looks. Their voices trembled with excitement and fear at the same time, like children discovering fire for the first time. Lyra stepped closer, brave yet shaking. She had studied human biology but never imagined meeting one, especially one whose presence felt so strangely warm. "You are a male?" she asked carefully, her silver eyes widening. Nodded, "Yes, I am." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Some covered their mouths. Some leaned forward. Some touched their own faces, as if trying to understand what they were seeing. Felt strangely exposed, yet he stood tall. If humanity wanted peace, someone had to walk first. Lyra's voice softened. "We never believed we would meet one again. Our history told us males vanished from the universe long ago." Gave a small, tired smile. "We've been here all along." The moment was quiet, almost sacred. No one knew it then, but this meeting would change the fate of both species. The alien girls could not stop staring. His presence made the air feel heavier and lighter at the same time. Every step he took seemed deliberate yet calm, and the sunlight bounced off his armor, creating reflections that fascinated them. Lyra's hand twitched. She wanted to touch him to see if he was real, but she feared breaking some unspoken rule. Others gathered closer, whispering among themselves in a language that flowed like water, soft and melodic. They had never seen a male form, never understood the way their bodies moved or how they carried themselves. Some studied the muscles in his arms. Some focused on his eyes, dark and steady, holding a depth they had never encountered in anyone around them before. There was a strange feeling in the valley, a vibration in the air that seemed to respond to his heartbeat. Noticed the hesitance, the awe. He crouched slightly, trying to appear smaller, less threatening. "I know I look unusual," he said softly, "but I am here to learn and to help." His voice carried across the open field like calm water, and the girls' movements slowed, as if absorbing every syllable. Lyra stepped forward, careful, curious. Do you feel like us?" she asked, her words trembling. "Like we do our thoughts, our emotions?" Smiled faintly. "I feel many things, fear, hope, sadness, joy. I think you feel those too, right?" The words made their hearts stir. They had never considered that someone so different could feel the same way. Some stepped closer, their glowing eyes shining, almost like tiny moons hovering in the daylight. They wanted to touch him, to confirm that he was real, but fear anchored them in place. Finally, one girl, younger than the rest, reached out a hand toward his arm. Froze for a moment, then gently let her touch him. Her fingers brushed against the fabric of his uniform, and a shiver ran through her. It was not just the sensation. It was the realization that this being, this male, was tangible, alive, and somehow connected to them. "His presence, it is strange," one of the elder girls whispered. "It stirs something inside us we have never known." looked at them, seeing the mix of awe, curiosity, and confusion mirrored in their expressions. "I know this is overwhelming," he said quietly, "but I promise I am not here to hurt anyone. I just want to understand your world and maybe share a little of mine." Lyra's hair shimmered brighter in the sunlight as she nodded slowly. We have only studied humans through old records. We have imagined them. But you are different from all our ideas." His heart thumped. He realized the enormity of the moment. Centuries of separation, countless generations without males, and now here he was, standing in front of beings who had never touched the living presence of one. He could feel the weight of history pressing gently on his shoulders. Do you live alone?" one girl asked, her curiosity now braver. "Or are there others like you?" Shook his head. "There are others, yes, but I am the first to come this far. I am the first to meet you." A hush fell over the gathering. The girls looked at one another, realizing that this was not just a visitor. It was a bridge to a forgotten past. They felt their own loneliness in a new way, as if the universe itself had suddenly widened and offered them a chance to see what they had lost. For a moment, time seemed suspended. Birds hovered in the violet sky, the grass swayed, and even the wind carried a quiet hum as if celebrating this unprecedented encounter. The girls could barely speak, their minds racing. They wanted to ask questions, but words felt inadequate. Knelt slowly, bringing himself closer to their level, showing vulnerability. "I know you are confused," he said gently. "And scared, that's natural, but curiosity is stronger than fear, isn't it?" One by one, the girls nodded. Some reached out with trembling hands to touch his armor, his gloves, the edge of his helmet. The sensation was electric in a way they had never imagined, and each touch made them feel more alive, more connected to something beyond their world. Lyra stepped closer than the others. Her hand hovered just above his chest, and she felt his heartbeat. It was steady, calm, alive, and it resonated with her own, as if echoing through space and time. She realized that he was not just a human. He was hope, a reminder of what they had lost and what might return. And in that silent valley, with golden dust swirling around them and violet clouds drifting overhead, the impossible became real. A male, human, living, and the alien girls, who had never seen one, now understood that the universe was larger, stranger, and far more beautiful than they had ever imagined. The valley seemed to hold its breath as Rose slowly, brushing dust from his armor. The alien girls stepped back, giving him space, yet their eyes never left him. Every movement he made felt like a story unfolding before them, strong yet careful, foreign yet strangely comforting. Lyra stayed at the forefront, her curiosity outweighing fear, while the others whispered among themselves, trying to make sense of the impossible reality standing in front of them. Held up a small device showing images and lights. "I want to share things with you," he said. "Things from my world." The device glowed softly in the afternoon light, casting tiny shadows on the alien faces. The images flickered, forests, oceans, human cities, people laughing, children playing. The girls gasped at each scene, their silver eyes widening with wonder. None had seen life beyond their planet, let alone this strange, diverse species. "This is extraordinary," Lyra whispered, stepping closer. She reached out tentatively, touching the screen as if she could feel the world within it. Her hand lingered over the image of a laughing child, and she felt a strange warmth ripple through her chest. She looked at, realizing that the warmth wasn't just from the images. It was from him, the living connection between their worlds. Smiled gently. "You are not alone anymore," he said. "Our worlds, they can meet, we can help each other." The elder girls exchanged hesitant glances. Some shook their heads, murmuring doubts, warning against trust too quickly. But curiosity and hope battled against fear, and slowly the whispers became questions. "What do you eat?" one girl asked, her voice light but her eyes intense. "How do you survive?" Knelt, meeting her gaze. "We eat plants, sometimes meat like you. We drink water, we sleep to rest. But we also live with purpose like all of you. We fight, we laugh, we dream. We feel deeply as you do." The words sank in, and a quiet awe fell across the group. They had imagined life as theirs had been, safe, small, contained. But here was someone who lived differently, yet shared the same essence. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the nearby trees. Every girl froze, their senses alert. turned, scanning the shadows with a trained eye. A wild predator unseen until now crept toward them. Its eyes glimmered, hungry and sharp. The alien girls gasped, some stepping back, others instinctively preparing to defend themselves. His voice was calm but firm. "Stay behind me." He moved forward with steady steps, his posture commanding yet protective. The predator circled, testing, unsure of this new presence. Then raised a small device. A light pulse shot from it, dazzling and confusing the creature. It recoiled, then vanished back into the forest. The girls exhaled as one. Relief, awe, and something unspoken filled the air. Lyra's hand hovered near his arm, shaking slightly. You protected us," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. Looked at her, his expression steady but kind. "That's what friends do," he said simply, "and I want to be your friend." Something shifted among them. Fear melted slightly, replaced by fascination, gratitude, and a spark of something deeper, something unnameable yet undeniable. They had never met a male before, had never seen one who moved with such calm strength and gentle intention. Yet here he was, standing among them, alive and patient, showing respect and care. The younger girls stepped closer, more confident now, daring to touch his uniform, his gloves, even the edge of his armor. Each touch made him smile softly, and in return, each smile seemed to reassure them, building a fragile bridge of trust. Lyra finally reached out fully, placing her hand on his chest, feeling the strong rhythm of his heartbeat. It is real," she breathed. "You are real." Nodded, a quiet understanding passing between them. He had come to explore and to help, but now he realized the impact of presence itself. Being there, living, standing as proof of another world, sometimes that was enough to change hearts. The sun began to lower behind the violet clouds, painting the valley in streaks of gold and lavender. The alien girls gathered closer, no longer just observers. They were participants in this first contact, their world stretching wider than it had ever been. And somewhere deep inside, they all felt a strange, thrilling certainty. This encounter was not the end, but the beginning of something far greater than any of them could imagine. And in that quiet moment, looked at their faces, glowing with curiosity, wonder, and cautious hope, and he knew that no matter how different they were, the bond of understanding had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The alien girls had never experienced something so strange, so intense yet comforting. Even as the sun dipped lower, the valley shimmered with the quiet energy of curiosity and wonder. Moved carefully among them, showing no signs of fear, only patience and attention. Every small step he took seemed to invite them to step closer, to explore this new presence without anxiety. Lyra led the group. Her silver eyes reflected the fading sunlight as she studied carefully. "We have questions," she said softly. "So many questions about your world, your life, your strength." Smiled gently. "I will answer all I can," he said. "We have time, and I want to understand you too." The girls hesitated, still unsure how to approach someone so different. In their culture, touching, standing close, or speaking too freely was unusual, especially with a male. Yet something about made the rules feel less rigid, as if his calm presence invited them to reconsider. "You fight," one elder said. "You protect, yet you do not attack without reason. How is that possible?" Knelt, meeting her gaze at her level. "I fight to defend," he said. "Not to destroy. Strength is not just about power, it's about responsibility, using it wisely only when needed." The girls murmured among themselves. They had believed strength meant dominance or aggression, but here was proof that it could be gentle, controlled, and protective. A strange new concept took root in their minds. Lyra's fingers brushed a patch of dirt on his armor. "Your skin or armor, it feels warm. Alive," she said, astonished. You are real in every sense." Chuckled softly. "Yes, and so are you. Your world is beautiful. Your people are strong, thoughtful, and brave." The girls exchanged glances, a mixture of pride and confusion washing over them. Pride because someone from another world saw value in them. Confusion because it was difficult to reconcile this male's existence with the stories they had always believed. As they walked together slowly, began to explain simple things about humanity, how they built, loved, and survived. He showed them a small compass, explaining how humans used it to find direction, and the alien girls leaned closer, marveling at the tiny device. They had never imagined tools like this, and yet seeing it in action made the world feel infinitely larger. Suddenly, a faint tremor ran through the ground. The girls froze, their senses heightened, and trained instincts kicked in. He scanned the valley, spotting subtle movements in the distant hills. Creatures unlike any of their own were approaching, fast, sleek, dangerous. "Stay close to me," said, his voice firm but calm. The girls instinctively gathered around him, their trust in this stranger now outweighing their fear. He crouched slightly, arms extended as if ready to shield them. The creature's wild, aggressive predators charged down the hill, eyes glowing. Raised his hands, creating a barrier using a device that emitted a soft energy pulse. The creatures stopped, hesitated, then retreated slowly, unwilling to challenge this strange human. The girls exhaled in relief. Lyra's hand trembled as she touched his arm. You saved us," she whispered. "Not just with strength, but with understanding." Shook his head gently. "It's about respect," he said. "I respect you, your lives, and this land. That's why I protect, not destroy." The alien girl's eyes glimmered with a new emotion, all mixed with something deeper, an emotional resonance they had never felt with any of their kind. For centuries, they had lived without males, without the balance of difference that represented. And now, here he was, patient, strong, protective, yet gentle, and the impossible bridge between their worlds had begun to form. As night approached, the girls felt an unspoken shift. Fear had lessened, curiosity had grown, and trust, tentative, fragile, yet undeniable, had begun to bloom. They watched as he spoke softly, showing them ways to move, to survive, to think beyond the limits of their own experiences. Lyra looked at him, heart pounding in her chest. She could feel it, not just the physical warmth of his presence, but something deeper: hope, courage, and a strange sense of belonging. The first human male she had ever encountered had become a symbol of possibility, a living reminder that the universe was far wider, far more beautiful, and far more complex than they had ever imagined. And as the stars began to twinkle above the valley, casting silver light over their glowing skin, the alien girls felt it clearly. They were no longer alone in the galaxy. And for the first time in centuries, the future seemed not just uncertain, but full of wonder. Night had fallen over the valley, but the alien girls were still awake, sitting around in a semicircle. The violet sky glimmered with stars, reflecting off their silver eyes, and the soft glow of their hair cast delicate light across the grass. Had removed his helmet, letting them see his face fully, unshielded, human. It was a small gesture, but it made a profound difference. For the first time, the girls saw him not as a myth or a story, but as a living, breathing being. Lyra leaned slightly closer than the others, her hand brushing the edge of his armor, hesitant but unable to resist. The warmth of his presence made her pulse quicken. She realized that fear had transformed into fascination, and something softer, something that hummed deep inside her chest. "You are different," whispered one of the younger girls. "Not like the stories we were told. You are—" She trailed off, unsure how to name what she felt. "Alive," another said simply, "and real." Smiled, feeling the weight of centuries of solitude and misconception he had stepped into. "I am real," he said softly, "and I am here to understand, to help, and to learn from all of you. That is why I came." The girls shared glances, communicating silently with gestures and blinking patterns. They had never encountered a male like this, someone who did not demand dominance, but offered care, patience, and respect. It stirred something ancient and buried within them, the instinct to connect, to bond, to trust. "Do you feel emotions like us?" asked Lyra, her voice trembling slightly. "Do you love?" Looked at her unflinching. "Yes," he said. "I feel joy, sadness, fear, hope. I love my people, and I can care for others, even those I have never met before." The words hung in the night air, soft and profound. The girls' eyes widened as they realized something astonishing. Though he was male, though he was human, they shared more in common than they had ever imagined. A bridge between worlds, genders, and experiences had begun to form. They took turns asking questions, some simple, some profound. How did humans build cities? How did they grow food on barren land? How did they care for their young, protect their homes, and face enemies? answered every question with patience, showing pictures on his small device and describing actions with vivid words. And then Lyra asked the one question that had haunted her since the beginning. Why did you come here? Why risk yourself for us when we are strangers? Paused, feeling the weight of the moment. Because, he said slowly, your world matters, your people matter. And because I believe that no one should be alone, not for centuries, I believe we can share knowledge, safety, and hope together. The girls looked at one another, hearts pounding. None of them had expected such an answer, one that spoke of empathy, courage, and selfless intent. And yet in their chest, a spark ignited, a warmth that spread from their core to the tips of their glowing fingers. Lyra reached out fully this time, placing her hand gently on his shoulder. She felt the rhythm of his heartbeat beneath her palm, steady and strong, and a shiver ran through her. You touched something inside us we forgot existed, she whispered. Something that has been silent for generations. His eyes met hers. And you touched something in me, he said quietly. A reminder that even the smallest connections can change everything. The other girls gathered closer, drawn by the calm courage of his presence. They touched his hands, arms, even the edges of his uniform. With every contact, they felt a connection, subtle but undeniable, as if history itself had bent to allow this meeting. The energy in the valley shifted. Laughter softly bubbled from the younger girls. Questions became conversations. Caution transformed into a delicate trust that grew stronger with each passing minute. For the first time in centuries, the alien girls felt the presence of a male not as a threat, not as a myth, but as something alive and vital. They felt hope, not just for survival, but for understanding, for connection, for a future where their world was no longer solitary. And as gazed at them, bathed in moonlight, he understood it too. The meeting of their worlds was more than diplomacy or curiosity. It was the beginning of something enduring, something emotional, profound, and transformative. In that quiet valley, with stars above and glowing hearts around him, humanity had arrived, and the alien girls knew that life would never be the same again. The night stretched onward, yet none wished to leave. They had discovered trust, companionship, and wonder all at once. And deep within their hearts, each alien girl sensed a truth that could not be. The human soldier was not just a visitor. He was a spark, the first step toward a new future. Dawn broke over the valley, painting the sky in streaks of pink and gold. The alien girls awoke with a quiet anticipation that pulsed through their veins. They had slept near, not out of obligation, but because his presence had become a comfort, a new rhythm in their lives. Even in the fragile hours before sunrise, they felt the warmth of his calm confidence lingering around them. Stood slowly, stretching after the night spent sitting with them. His eyes scanned the valley, noting the soft glow of grass, the gentle movement of the distant trees, and the silver reflections in the girls' eyes. They watched him intently, some shyly, some with open curiosity. Lyra stepped forward first, her blue hair shimmering faintly in the morning light. "You stayed," she said, a mixture of awe and relief in her voice. Nodded, "Yes, I stayed because I wanted to understand you better, and because I wanted to be here with you." His words were simple, yet they carried weight. In a world that had known only female voices for generations, the sound of a male expressing care and intent with such honesty felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. The girls gathered closer, moving in ways that were instinctive rather than planned. They were learning each other's language slowly, but touch and presence spoke louder than words. Lyra lifted her hand, hesitating just a moment before placing it gently on his chest. She felt the steady thrum of life beneath her fingers, a heartbeat that was strong and real, and a strange warmth spread through her. "You are unlike anyone we imagined," she whispered. "You are alive and gentle and strong all at once." Looked at her, a small smile playing on his lips. "And you are remarkable. You've lived without males for centuries, yet you've grown wise, resilient, and compassionate. I admire that." Other girls reached out, curious, hesitant, yet drawn to him. Their fingertips brushed his arms, his shoulders, even the edges of his uniform. Each touch was met with patience and calm understanding, which encouraged them to continue. A bond was forming, not through words alone, but through presence, trust, and mutual respect. Lyra's voice trembled slightly as she asked, "Do humans feel connections like this, to someone they have never known before?" Nodded slowly. Yes, connection isn't about similarity, it's about understanding, care, and trust. It can grow between anyone who is willing to be open. The words sank into the hearts of the girls. They realized that connection, something they had thought was lost to their species forever, could exist again. It was fragile, yes, but undeniable. Their world, once small and solitary, now seemed larger, filled with possibility. A soft wind blew through the valley, rustling grass and hair alike, crouched to pick up a small stone and handed it to Lyra. "Even small things can hold meaning," he said. "This is just a stone, but it can remind you of today, of this moment, of what is possible." Lyra held it in her hand, feeling its weight and texture. The girls around them leaned in, watching quietly, sensing the depth of the gesture. It was not the object that mattered, it was the thought, the intention behind it, and the bridge it built between their lives. Suddenly, a soft call echoed from the distant hills. A group of creatures approached, curious, not hostile. The girls instinctively moved closer to. He stood calmly, hands raised to show peace. The creatures observed, then retreated without incident. In that moment, the girls understood something profound. Strength did not have to be violent. Courage did not require aggression, embodied both quietly and completely. Lyra's hand remained on his chest as she looked up at him. "You make it easier to trust," she admitted. Her silver eyes glimmered with unspoken emotion. "And to hope." Smile deepened. "That is why I came, to bring understanding, to share hope, and to show that even worlds apart, hearts can still find connection." The girls leaned closer, sitting around him as the sun rose fully, casting warm light across the valley. For the first time, centuries of loneliness and isolation felt softened by possibility. They did not fully understand everything about or his world, but the feeling in their hearts was clear. This human soldier was not just a visitor. He was a link, a promise, a living testament that connection, genuine, profound, and transformative, could exist again. And in that golden morning light, with the wind carrying whispers of life and hope, the alien girls felt something they had almost forgotten: joy. Quiet, deep, undeniable joy. And the bond between them and the human soldier grew stronger, unspoken yet solid, like roots forming in fertile soil, ready to withstand any storm the universe might bring. The sun had climbed higher, spilling light across the valley in broad, golden streams. The alien girls gathered around, their movements fluid, almost like waves drawn to a single point. Something in the air had shifted overnight. It was no longer just curiosity or caution. It was understanding, acceptance, and the quiet excitement of possibility. Lyra stood closest to him, her fingers brushing against his uniform lightly, hesitant yet unafraid. Her silver eyes glimmered with emotion she could barely name. "We never imagined this," she whispered, "that a male could be like you." Looked at her, warmth and patience in his gaze. "I am not perfect," he said softly, "but I came to show you that we can coexist, learn from each other, and care for one another. That is what matters." The other girls stepped closer, forming a semicircle around him. Some mirrored Lyra's gesture, placing hands on his shoulders, arms, or chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Every touch, every glance reinforced a bond that went beyond words, something elemental, profound, and undeniable. For centuries, their world had been ruled by absence. Males were stories, myths, distant echoes of memory, but's presence rewrote everything. It was not just that he was alive, it was that he came with respect, with empathy, with patience, and with hope. And hope, the girls realized, was the most dangerous, most beautiful force of all. Lyra's voice trembled as she asked, "Why did you stay? You could have just returned to your world." Smiled faintly. "Because I believe in connection, in trust, in building something new, and because I wanted to be here with all of you, to understand, to share, and to protect." The words were simple, yet their impact was immense. The girls felt a rush of emotions: admiration, wonder, joy, and a trembling recognition that the universe had given them a gift they never thought possible. Then, as if sensing the change in the air, the creatures of the valley approached. But this time there was no fear, stood calmly, arms raised in a peaceful stance. The alien girls instinctively followed his lead, moving slowly and with grace. The creatures paused, curious but not aggressive, then slowly retreated. The valley returned to calm. In that moment, the girls realized something essential. Courage was not just in strength, but in calm, in trust, in knowing when to act and when to guide. Was living proof. Lyra's hand lingered on his chest as she looked into his eyes. "You have awakened something inside us," she said softly. "A hope we thought was lost, and a feeling we never knew we could have again." His gaze softened. "And you have awakened the same in me," he said quietly. "Even in a place so far from home, I have found connection, trust, and friendship, something I never expected but now cannot live without." The girls exchanged glances, unspoken understanding passing among them. The initial shock of seeing a male had evolved into acceptance, admiration, and even joy. They no longer saw as an outsider or a legend. They saw him as a partner in a shared future, someone who could walk beside them in understanding and care. As the sun rose fully, flooding the valley with golden light, Lyra took a deep breath. "We welcome you," she said. "Not just today, not just for now, but into our world, into our lives. You have changed us forever." Nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest that went beyond words. "And I am honored," he said, "to be here with all of you, to learn, to help, and to stand together." The girls gathered closer, laughter softly bubbling as sunlight reflected in their hair and eyes. For centuries, their world had been quiet, isolated, and cautious. But now, with among them, it was alive with possibility. The impossible had become real, and the bond between human and alien had forged a path forward, a path of trust, understanding, and hope. The wind carried whispers through the valley, soft as a promise, as if the universe itself was acknowledging the new beginning. And for the first time in generations, the alien girls felt something undeniable. The world was no longer just theirs. It was shared, connected, and full of life. Looked around at their glowing faces, feeling the weight of history and the lightness of hope all at once. This was more than first contact. It was a beginning, a story of trust, courage, and the enduring power of connection across worlds. And in the heart of the valley, under the rising sun, they knew this truth. Together, they would face the future, not alone, but united. And the universe, vast and endless, suddenly felt smaller, kinder, and full of wonder.